So behind me just here, we've got my big tiff tuff patch, which is a type of couch grass. And today we're going to start using some of the clippings, the scarifyings or the chaff to sprig this area that is bare next to tiff tuff and eventually spread it across the whole back area here, which is about all up, it's nearly 3,000 square meters if you include next to the fairway. Just to basically make a grass type that's gonna be great through the summertime and not require too much water. Whereas over there at the moment, got a little bit of Kikuyu, which is fine, but then lots of ryegrass, clover and other weeds. So bit by bit, we're starting to spread it out. So I'll show you how the process works today. We'll rip into it. So first off, we have to get these clippings or scarifyings out of the tiff tuff itself. So tiff tuff has, or couch has, runners, which are stolons and rhizomes on couch. Other types of grass only have stolons, but couch has both, which is good. So this is what we're pulling out here. So we've done a little pass with the scarifier just earlier, and in this is lots of little sprigs or scarifyings. Which basically, how it works is some runners, some stolons, a little bit of thatch, got a bit of brown stuff in there, so we're also technically dethatching this at the same time, which the tiff tuff is in need of it. Gosh, she's long and spongy. So we're going to do two things at once, dethatch, but also use the clippings as basically seed. This is how we're going to treat it once it gets up and going. So just trying to find a runner with a root on it, or a node. So that is a runner there, and down the bottom here off the node, which is like a little, it's like a pimply, weird looking part. Anyway, there's some roots shooting off that. So that's what we're getting out of the ground. And once we plant them in the dirt over there, they will root down and establish super quick. A lot quicker than seed does. Like if we get warm enough temps for the next month, we should start to see quite a filled in lawn. So we're using this today, this Proteor, with a grooming reel in it, but it's set a bit deeper so it actually gets down into the soil a little bit. So this goes underground and pulls out all of those clippings and runners for us there. Does a good job. So that's basically it. I'll show you the rest of the process works. We're going to start pulling some out of the ground now, and then we'll continue on. Right, so we're up to the next step. So we're going to use the Eco 250 to spread out these sprigs here. Tons of really good ones in here. Once we adjusted that thing a bit, was it a bit better after we adjusted it? Not really.
A little bit. It started working better than it did at the start.
Yeah, it's just getting a little bit jammed up because the grass is so thick.
Yeah, grooming's probably not the best scarified.
We've got a scarifier reel.
Or just something with more power, like even reels on the back on that or something would work really well.
Yeah, it's just bogging down, and it's on a slope too. When I did the kike it was fine, but it's just super thick here, so it is a little bit of a problem. But anyway, so we're going to use the Eco 250, spread it out. Let's see how far this goes and how much we have to get out. We're only going from like the edge of the fairway there to where I've sprayed. I hit this with Roundup again yesterday, some glyphosate just to kill the little bits of wireweed I've got here, a little bit of mallow, just the random bits of weed around the place, and a tiny bit of common couch, which I've sprayed that a few times now and it's still popping through, so that might be a Roundup painting job every now and then if we can keep that coming up. And there's a little bit of summer grass and paspalum in there too, but it's about to be the season where it stops. But we need at least a month of warm weather to get this going, so end of Jan now. We've still got until like the middle of March. So we're back out here again next week. We scalped the whole of the fairway back on the lowest, not the lowest setting, one of the lowest settings on the 2653B. Had some issues last week. The grooming reel kept getting stuck and not fully pulling things out, and we realised that it wasn't bringing out a lot of rhizomes and stolons. It was mostly clippings because it was grooming and the grass was so long too, and the belt just kept slipping and kept getting caught up. So we changed it to scarifying reel. So the scarifying reel's in there now, adjusted the belts, adjusted the chains a bit, and it's doing a lot of a better job. But I did also put down the clippings and water them every day, a couple of hours a day, and there just was nothing is taken because it was basically just clippings. So I'm glad we've got the scarifying reel in there now, because it's just really going to help out. Like, it's moist as down there, that is soaking wet. But you can see these clippings here are so much better. Like, we've got, look at that. That is perfect, and like you find them every time you pick up something, as opposed to before it's mostly clippings and hardly anything that will shoot roots from it. So much better. This is the scarifying reel here, so it's just a bit more spread apart, and they can set it a little bit deeper too, whereas the grooming reel is more designed for getting your above ground thatch. It's more to help bring stuff from below the ground and above the ground. Bro, I'm filming. I'm not putting that in. So hopefully third time lucky. Unfortunately, the chains come off on the Protea on the side here. On this side just there. And the chain's a little bit bent, and the little clip came off it from the chain link, so next option. We've got this cock scarify here. So my brother works at Ecoscapes Lawns and Gardens in town. This is theirs. Cheers to them for letting us borrow this. See how this thing goes. I'm interested. I've never used cock scarify. I've used the old not Protea, the old Scott Botter ones on the golf course back in the day, and then we used an old Turf Tech one. So give this one a go. I reckon it'll be good. So since it doesn't have a catcher, we're going to just scarify it, and then we're going to get the zero turn, just lift it up high and blow the clippings over here, which actually be less work technically, so it'll work well anyway. Let's do it. Well, it's just been one of those days today. The belt has now snapped on the scarifier. I'm pretty sure it's pretty worn down because it's been used on a ton of jobs at Ecoscapes. It's just one of those things, belts go every now and then. And the Tiff Tuff is flipping thick, like thick and thatchy too. So I think this needs like a triple run over to pull out all the thatch. Like, it's pulled out quite a bit, and you can finally see some dirt, which is going to help with nutrients so much on this area. Something I should have done a lot earlier, to be honest. I'm just going to take water in a lot more, and it's just going to be a ton healthier in the long run, but it's still so thick. Although if we scout this back and we can see soil, it's going to be pretty good. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. So we got half the area done at least, so we're going to get some water on this quickly and treat it like seed, as I mentioned earlier in the video. So water it 4 or 5 times a day, probably more at the moment because it's so hot. But it's nice and thick. There's lots and lots of solons in there, which is awesome. So we're going to get it shooting very, very well. Just get the water down. It's starting to dry out. So we'll get half done at least. I'll finish off the other half next week, but you guys get the point on this. So we won't put any fertilizer out probably until a week's time from now, once we start to see some roots root down, and we'll get some nutrients in there and get it to kick. Thanks guys so much for watching. Really, really appreciate it. Hopefully you learned something from that video. Ask any questions in the comments if you have them, but sprigging or spreading out chaff is such a good way to get a quick lawn. Like, an awesome way to do it. Now, if I wanted to really go nuts with it, I probably could top dress over top, but I don't have any soil at the moment. I should just order some. If this doesn't work, that's what I'll be doing. I've never actually tried it without top dressing over top, so we're about to see. I'm just gonna have to keep the water up to it a lot more. We've done it quite thick, a little bit thicker than you normally would. So some of it won't take, some of it will. But I'm gonna water it and then probably roll it in with the wheels from the gator too, so it actually makes some really good contact with the soil. But anyway, thanks guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next vid. Bye. So we had a massive storm last night, like ridiculous storm. Rain came down really heavy, which sort of washed a little bit of my little sprigs here, not too bad. But it's really helped some soil come up through it and help it just stay in place. So I don't really need to roll it in now. I'm just gonna make sure I keep the water up to it constantly, because as you can imagine, I haven't top dressed it. So I need to water it more regularly. But a little bit of wash in a few areas like this, just here, but it's really not that bad, to be honest. So if we've covered quite a big area, as I said. Just need to finish off next week. Once the belt turns up, we'll fix that. But mate, looking forward to showing you guys the results in the coming week. It's gonna be good.